Without further ado, I think Rich is going to take us into the game.
Yep. So we've been talking about this game like sort of a mashup of the Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem series, but I think it's a little bit more accurate to look at this as a brand new series, an entirely separate experience. I'm going to start us off with a bit of save data that is set in, well, if you know your way around Tokyo, you're probably going to recognize where we are right now. We're at a pretty famous intersection here in Shibuya, and I love how detailed this is and how like really real and how grounded this all feels. The amount of like visual, like recognizable visuals in here, like really sets the scene for me. I know that you've spent a lot of time in Tokyo.
I lived near Tokyo, and it's just amazing to see how realistically, not just the intersection, but like those streets you can see in the distance are just like I remember them, which is really crazy.
Yeah, I feel like anybody who's been to Japan has probably been there and will recognize this in the game, which is really cool.
I'm going to take a few minutes to explore around here just so I can show off some of the scenes before we get into some story segments and then a little bit of combat and some stuff like that. While I'm walking around, I was wondering if Mr. Takata would like to talk a little bit about his involvement in the Shin Megami series and on this title.
ですね、つい最近アトラスからデビルサバイバーレコードブレイカーというのが出たと思うんですが、そのデビルサバイバーシリーズのディレクターをやってます。
So I served as the director for the Devil Survivor series from Atlas, the most recent of which was Devil Survivor Record Breaker.
Now, I talked a little bit about how realistic the setting is, like how grounded in reality this game feels. That's one of the things that really stands out to me about this title in particular. Like the hook of the storyline, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, is that you're set within Tokyo, a very modern day setting, and you start experiencing these incursions from another world called the idolasphere. These beings called mirages are being drawn to our world and invading us, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes too. This is a JRPG, although I don't know, I feel like it might be a little bit more appropriate to call it a J-pop RPG because of like how heavy the role of music is in this game.
Yeah, we're going to see that coming up.
We'll talk about that a little bit. I want to walk into the convenience store really quickly, though.
Yes.
The character above the mart there, that Shin Megami fans may recognize him as Kiho or Jack Frost.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool because they add in all these little details like that.
I like those little nods to the series franchise as well. I talked a bit about some of the, like just touched on the idea of pop music and its importance to this series. Mr. Takata was telling us the other day a little bit about the way in which Shibuya changes through the course of the game and the role that music has in that. I was wondering if he could expand on that now that we're in the convenience store and I'll be, shopping for some snacks. He can tell us a bit about the music and a little bit about the world.
Can you make me up some candy?
Find some candies, nigiri.
Yeah, I need some candy.
そうですね。日本の街並みだと街頭にポスターが貼ってあったり、例えばこれコンビニって言うんですけど、コンビニで音楽が流れたりするんですけれども、そういうところとか実際に例えばヒロインの翼がデビューすると歌が流れたり、ポスターが変わったりみたいなことがあって、かなり
So actually, the way that the city looks changes as you go through the game depending on like what the characters have done. So for example, if the heroine of the story has made her debut, then her poster for her debut single will be up in the city and her song will be showing or playing in the convenience store, things like that. So that's how the game world will change as you progress through the story.
I'll show off some of those posters in a second too, but I love the vibrancy of the world because of this. It feels like it's constantly changing. I also wanted to go back to the shopkeeper here really quickly.
Yeah, she'll definitely look recognizable to Fire Emblem fans as Anna. So the game kind of mixes in characters from Fire Emblem and from Shin Megami, and I think that's a really cool addition to the game.
One thing I like about this is we're going to see the actual Fire Emblem characters in a few minutes. When you see Anna here as a shopkeeper, it's not actually Anna, but it's a really it's a really subtle homage to the Fire Emblem series. And there are a number of other shopkeepers that are going to be showing up as well, and a number of other characters. The Fire Emblem characters themselves, though, are going to be an entirely separate experience that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But I love the way in which we're seeing some of these elements already in the demo start kind of brushing the world with some Fire Emblem features.
I was getting so comfortable hanging out in the Hee-Ho Mart there that it's kind of sad to leave, but I know we've got to go see other things.
The Hee-Haw Mart with Hee-Ho.
Hey, you know, we're not going to go for the, decide on what the official pronunciation is here, but
take a look around, some posters, get a look at the real world. Now, the reason I'm here, though, I'm not just kind of exploring Shibuya. I'm here to catch a concert being performed over in the square. I'm going to head over that way now. So I'm playing here as a character named Itsuki, who is meeting up with his friend Tsubasa. You can see her over in the corner. She has been trying to get me to come see this pop singer named Kiria for a while now, and so I'm finally here to see the show. Once I start talking to her, we're going to jump into one of the songs and just give it a listen, since this is going to be one of our first opportunities to see one of these pop songs performed within the game. Mr. Takada, if you feel like talking a little bit about the creation of the songs and some of the animation that we're going to be seeing, that'll help to contextualize some of this for the audience.
このゲームに登場するこの曲についてのなんかその作曲についてもしコメントがあったらもう自由にコメントしていただければ。
そうですね。作曲はかなり有名なアーティストをやられている方々にお願いしてます。なので普通のなんでしょうね、アニメの曲とは違ってかなり本物っぽいっておかしいですね。日本の普通のアーティストが歌うような曲になっていると思います。それとちなみにこの今のダンスとかですけれども、これプロのダンサーに踊っていただいたのを取り込んでゲームで再現してます。またもう一つ、この歌なんですけれども、歌を歌ってる方と、普段のキャラクターのボイスをやっていただいている声優さんは同じなんですよ。なのですごくこだわって歌の上手で演技も上手な人を選んでキャスティングしてます。
So actually, all the songs that you hear in this game are being handled, written, produced by famous Japanese songwriters who are in charge of producing famous, well-known Japanese artists. And so these aren't the types of songs that you normally see in anime. Also, the dances as well were choreographed by famous dance choreographers. And one of the things that we faced that was a bit of a challenge for us was the fact that all of the voice actors and actresses who appear in this game, who voice characters who have to sing, those voice actors and actresses have to sing their own songs. So we had to find people who were able to not only be good actors and actresses, but sing as well.
That sounds challenging.
Yeah, it's a real localization challenge, I think, as well. So she really dug the show. And this is going to touch...
excited.
Really excited. This is going to touch on one of the key elements of the game world here. When you see a when you see a creator like this, it's really inspiring to her, and it's kind of rekindled her own desire to be a pop singer. And I mentioned the idolasphere earlier, and I mentioned the mirages. These mirages are these otherworldly beings that are drawn to people's creative energy. It's called Performa in the game. People who have a really strong Performa draw these mirages to them, and the mirages come and they want to drain the Performa out of people. But seeing Kiria's performance awakens Tsubasa's Performa within her. She's really driven now. She wants to become a pop singer, and she's looking for a little encouragement from Itsuki, her friend.
And I love that idea that, everybody has within them some amount, more or less of a creative spirit, and that becomes kind of this gameplay element in a really cool way that we'll see in some of the scenes coming up here.
And I love her animations and her determination and enthusiasm is really great.
Yeah.
And so she's asking me for a little encouragement, and I can egg her on, or I can tell her, no, you don't have a chance. Don't even try.
How are you going to play it?
You're going to be nice, right?
I'm going to be nice.
Yeah, be nice.
Okay. For purposes of this demo, I'll play against character, and I'll be nice. She's really enthused about it. And now you're going to see something that the real world around her can't see, but it's her Performa kind of being awakened within her. And this is going to be a kind of a triggering moment for the storyline as well.
I wonder if we have very good Performa. What do you think, Ethan?
I would imagine you probably have the most Performa out of the three of us,
know about
at least,
well, thank you.
You're super creative, so.
Day 2 of E3, I feel like my performance is still pretty high.
Yeah, definitely. Still got that adrenaline.
So she can see this happening, and you, Itsuki, can see this happening to her, but everyone around her can't see it. It's
Right.
just you and your group of friends who all have the same ability within you. And also this character,
Maiko, I believe. She's kind of like, we don't know a lot about her at this point, but she's kind of a support, someone who's supporting Tsubasa.
and she's explaining a lot of what we just discussed about the Performa.
Right behind Tsubasa is her buddy Toma with the red hair.
But now that we've had this moment, this big experience of the Performa being awakened within Tsubasa, the idolasphere is starting its incursion, and you're seeing Shibuya being basically invaded by these otherworldly beings.
Yeah, I wonder if Mr. Takato has any comments or thoughts about just the scene that's going to be coming up here, as we're going to see that first incursion on the world. If you know.
今のシーンについてのコメントはありますか？初めてイドラスフィアから攻撃してくるミラージたちについてコメントありますでしょうか？
普段の街並みは普段日常をゲームとして味わってもらうんですけれども、ごめんなさい。なんて言えばいいのかな。こう日常と非日常を味わうためにああいうふうに敵が攻めていくんですが、彼らは敵が見えないんですね。なので異変に気づいているのは主人公たちだけなので、こうなんて言えばいいのかな。
So what we're seeing right here, this game deals with the balance between what's common, what's the everyday, which is what deals with what our main characters are dealing with, and what is extraordinary, which is what you're seeing right here. And so this game is based around this idea that people, like everyday kids, essentially are dealing with incursions from the other world.
What's happening around us at this point is the regular people, they're starting to have their Performa drained, and they're having you could see them slumping during that scene, and their color is being drained out of them, and they're being filled with like a hopelessness and a feeling that they can't go on, that the weight of the real world is pressing down on them. And that's what happens when their creative energy is taken from them.
So this is actually Kiria, right?
Transformed, yeah. She has a super awesome gothy claw mic
We really
stand.
need to talk about that microphone.
We do.
So she's transformed into another state, but she's a pop singer, and so when she transforms into this other state as a warrior, she still has this magic staff, but it's like a microphone with like the claw hand, and you're
stab people with it or something.
I love this aspect of the game. I love seeing all of the real-world elements with their idolasphere iterations. So right now, this is your first glimpse of one of the mirages. Right. But what's weird about this specific scene is that Tsubasa recognizes the girl that we're looking at right here. Yep. She's like the spitting image of her missing sister. Yeah. This is a story element that we're not going to go too deep into right now. I don't want to spoil much about the story.
Been, introduced here. She's being called like mysterious lady. So,
but whatever that recognition has done, it's driving her away, and she retreats into the 106 building, which is going to be the dungeon that we're going to showcase right now.
I loved her character design, her outfit, and like the red eyes with the swirling triangles around her head. It's really awesome.
The swirling halo is really cool.
So you've got control back now,
and you can see
people aren't feeling so well after.
Not colorful
you can see they're all
anymore.
drained of color, and it's become a bleak place now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the game is so colorful otherwise, and you saw before how all the people in the crowd were those colorful outlines, and it's really cool that now that this incursion has happened, everybody, like you said, is drained of that color. It's like, I like that. That symbolism is pretty deep, man.
I love, too, that the muted people, they're muted, but they're all different colors. It's a really interesting design choice, and really colorful game.
So really quickly, that building that we just entered is like another major landmark in that area of Tokyo. And you probably saw this tall building said 106. It's actually the 109 building in real Tokyo. And it's a sort of a fashion center. And now we're going inside it. And one thing that's really cool is we'll see that in this altered version of that building, you're still going to see the traces of the fashion that exists in the real world version of it.
And don't worry, we're not ignoring the giant maid costume. We're going to get to that. But first, we're going to get a quick introduction to some of the Fire Emblem characters within this world. So the Fire Emblem characters, when they show up here, they're not the Fire Emblem characters that we know. They are from the idolasphere, and they have no memory of who they are. But not everybody in the idolasphere is sinister or evil. But you can see, like, this is Chrom, but he's got such a different cast to him. He's like a dark, kind of, like, you know.
He looks amazing.
He's
yeah.
Dark awesomeness, I think is what you mean to say.
I'm really excited, too, to see potential cosplays come out of this, because I feel like there's so many different choices, and I know people are going to jump on
that. The costume design in this game is amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So we've now had the Fire Emblem characters. They're on our side at this point because we have given them our Performa, and that has kind of awakened within their desire to help us. And you can see that manifesting. I now have a sword.
Chrom's sword. That's actually Chrom's rapier that he usually starts out with in a lot of Fire Emblem games.
And you can see I'm just going to walk around the dungeon for a little bit. I can see out on the field there's a mirage off in the distance. He's going to notice me and he's going to charge me. So thanks to Chrom's help, I might be able to stun him and stop him from... Oh, all right, he's coming. I'm going to hit a menu button instead. I feel like that's the right choice.
Don't panic, bitch.
There's a panic button. I didn't get the sword out in time because of my panic. We'll do that in a second.
You can slash them, though, which we'll see.
So we're going cold into this battle now, and we're going to show off a little bit of the way in which the battle system operates. What I love about what's happening here on the screen right now is you've seen Chrom in his Mirage form, and you've seen Itsuki, and they now have taken on a more familiar form of Chrom. It's sort of Itsuki as Chrom.
With super awesome face tattoos.
Yeah, and it's no longer quite as sinister as it seemed before. This is a good chance for Mr. Takata to talk a little bit about the combat system, because we have elements of Fire Emblem's weapons triangle at play here, but we also have the Shin Megami system weakness, or Shin Megami Tensei weakness system in play here as well.
ご存知のようにファイアーエンブレムって3ス組というのがあると思うんですが、それとは別にですね、アトラスの作る RPG のバトルシーンって基本的にその敵の弱点をつくことでよりバトルが有利に展開するっていうのがあるんですよ。でそれとその3ス組っていうのが非常に相性がいいので、ぜひそのスキルとか使ってですね、戦ってみてほしいなと思います。
So, as you guys know, what's famous about the Fire Emblem's combat system is the idea of the weapons pyramid and the relationship between weapons. And for the games that Atlas makes, generally there's a focus on finding, whether they're demons or whatever you're fighting, finding their weaknesses and taking advantage of them. So we thought during the development cycle that these systems go really well together, the idea of finding weaknesses and taking advantage of them. So for people who pick up this game and play it, I'd really like you guys to look forward to seeing what weaknesses you can find and how taking advantage of them will, reward you.
Now, I've done this just as a very basic attack. I didn't do anything fancy right here, but we're going to get into some of the fancier and unique elements of this game. How cool, I leveled up. I can't hear it in here because of how crazy the E3 volume is, but
E3 2015.
There's like a really awesome musical nod to Fire Emblem going on during the level up. Just another way in which the Fire Emblem series is represented here. So I'm going to jump back into some more battles, and maybe this time I'll actually be able to stun someone. We'll see if this works out.
No, you were
I'm good.
earlier.
I just got to find somebody to beat up.
I so badly want you to go over to that mayor.
So I've used Chrom's rapier to stun him, and then I'm going to go up and start a battle with him, and I have an advantage now.
Yeah, that's a cool little aspect that people can play with.
Oh, Kane's intro with Toma is fantastic.
Toma's here.
Awesome.
He's ready to
so good. He is majestic.
俺たちの力を見せるぞ
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit into the session attack system. That's the big feature for this game. When I trigger a session attack, you'll see like there's a little exclamation point on characters that are weak against whatever attack I've got selected. I'll just start with a basic slash here. When I select the slash, I'll be starting. I don't see other characters queued up for my session attack just yet. But on the left-hand side, you would see other people who are going to join into a session attack. I'm not sure I'll get one this time.
この槍さばきに刮目し
But
た
now I'm going to trigger a session attack and try to get a combo going.
Okay, and you've got that green exclamation point showing up on the enemy.
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to go for. And now you can see where I had just one character before, I've got 3 characters who are all going to jump into this attack with me.
They
Also,
look really
check out
excited
Krom
about
and
it.
Itsuki and Tsubasa in the background.
Yeah,
Their
they
little
look so
background banner art
excited.
is
They're
so
like,
cool. All right, so like while we're here, since you pointed that out, it's a good chance to talk about like that. This whole battlefield looks like a stage.
Yeah.
There's like a laser light show going on. I don't know who the audience is. Maybe Mirages are out there like watching us like go to it.
I like to think it's the Mirages.
They're here for the show. And also like all of the attacks on the bottom of the screen there, like they pop up like singles. Like you've got the name of the song and then the artist performing the attack. So I love like every bit about this has this beautiful music vibe to it.
Here we go.
Like there's a scrolling banner in the background. Got one more session.
So that was Itsuki and Tsubasa combining for a session attack, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to see if I can get another
Toma,
session
sorry.
attack.
I really like the fusion of the Shinigami and Fire Emblem elements in the battle too. It adds an extra layer of coordination and strategy really to the game.
Oh, that was serious overkill.
It was.
Yeah, so a lot of this game, we can see the weaknesses because this is a played-up save. This is, a little bit deeper into the game, but I don't think it's going to be like that all the time.
Right.
You're going to have to learn the weaknesses before they'll start showing up on screen. So you have to interact with an enemy and figure out how to fight them as you're going.
I love that character artwork you get to see after each battle. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I feel like this game itself they really put a lot of thought and effort into designing everything. Every little detail they've added it in and all the nods to the fans. It's really cool.
So you just opened a floating treasure chest there.
All right, so I'm going to start showing off the gimmick for this particular dungeon.
Yes, it's
The
time.
giant maid. The time has come for the giant maid.
So, Mr. Takata, would you like to talk a little bit about the gimmick for this dungeon and the way dungeons operate in this title?
このダンジョンのギミックについてコメントはありますか？
ここは渋谷で有名なファッションビルなんですよ。なのでこういう巨大なマネキンがいたりっていうような現実のそのある世界をモチーフにしたダンジョンになってます。で他にもいろんなダンジョンがあってそれぞれ工夫を凝らしたギミックがあるので楽しんでもらえたらいいなと思います。
So he's saying that this particular dungeon is based on a real-world location in Japan, which is well known for fashion, which is the 109 building or the Maru Q building in Shibuya. So the gimmicks or the puzzles that you'll see in this game are also based on fashion. However, there are lots of other dungeons in this game that are based on real-world locations that all have different gimmicks themselves. So everybody, please, look forward to getting your hands on those.
Yeah. So I've reached the end of where I can explore right now. I was able to reach this part of it by clambering through the maid costume so that I could reach this side of the room. Now, for me to get deeper into the dungeon, I'm going to need to navigate my way, through the different floors of the building.
Right.
I walk over here and I see these mannequins on display.
Yep.
And there's a spotlight on one of them. And by no small coincidence, the arms are in a pose that's very similar to the giant maid.
Right.
It gives me a little bit of a hint of what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah.
I also can check in with this friendly Mirage right here and see what he's got to say.
Floaty creatures, water.
And I really like that inclusion of some puzzle-solving elements in dungeons. Give you something extra to do while also fighting battles.
I'm going to go over here and interact with the display. I'll switch it to, we'll just start with the second one. Switch the highlight. The arms are moving, and Probably not the right choice because I've got the arms in the wrong
I would
position.
love
looks
to install
cool.
something like this in my house, but I don't think it would fit.
It was fun to watch her.
It was
go
fun
like
to watch.
this. Yeah.
So I'm going to go down to the third option now and get it back to a position where I can actually crawl through her limbs. There we go.
I'm really anxious. Like, what's in there? What is living
Right?
in there?
Pigeons.
Are there pigeons? Yeah.
So I'm going up to, I think I'm on the third floor now.
Okay.
And I try to navigate my way around here.
Right.
I see that I've got another opportunity here to change the pose of the mannequin. I've also got some more mirages, and I'm gonna play with them a little bit too, because there we go.
Nice.
And the cool thing about that too is that you can hit them, and then if you don't want to battle them, you don't have to. You can move past them while they're stunned.
Yeah, I haven't shown off that part of the system yet, but if you knock them down, they will just fade away after a little bit. So I don't need to jump right into a combat if I'm not ready.
Okay, so these are different enemies this time.
No, I love the two knights, sort of the centaurish looking guys on either side. They're like half motorcycle, half horse, half jousting dude.
You need a horse. Thing.
Whoever that small girl was in the middle, you took her down pretty quickly.
I know.
She didn't have
You
we
just
didn't have a
took her
chance to
out
talk
too.
about her.
Like, we're just gonna kill you now. I guess.
Really taking advantage of the session attacks because I want to show off a bunch of these here. Plus, they're a great way to make short work of the enemies.
I love his attitude.
I know, Toma as Kane is great. So, we talked about, Tsubasa wants to be a singer. I'll see if, no special weaknesses right now, I'll just do this. Toma wants to be an actor, but he still has Performa within him. You know, it's all of these creative arts that, that provide people with Performa.
Right.
So you have, among all of your friends, you have all of these different talents, all these different people that come along to join you. And it's more than just, like, dealing with the idolasphere and fighting your way against these enemies. You're also kind of navigating the entertainment industry after a fashion. Maybe Mr. Takaru would like to talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a really interesting part of this game.
今までコンバートについてお話ししましたけれども、コンバートだけじゃなくてその他にこう芸能界のキャラと芸能界との関係についてこのストーリーもそれについての描写がありますけれども、それについて。
そうですね、メインストーリーがロープレイなんであるんですけれども、それ以外に各キャラクターごとにサイドストーリーっていう任意で選べるお話があるんですよ。それはそれぞれのキャラクターたちが芸能界でサクセスしていくためのお話なんですけれども、主人公がそれをサポートしてあげることで、彼らの成功していくドラマを楽しむだけでなく、ちょっとバトルとか育成でいいことがあったりするっていうのはありますね。
So, as you know, there's a main story to this game, which, I mean, is common sense, but there's also a side story for each of the characters that you'll meet along the way, too. And each character has a relationship with the Japanese entertainment world. Like, for example, you see Toma, who's trying to be an actor, or you see Tsubasa, who's trying to be a Japanese singer. And so the main character, Itsuki, basically improves his relationship with these characters and helps them realize their dreams, and each of these characters has a side story as well about realizing, you know, their dreams within the entertainment world.
Nice.
Now we're going to switch to another section of the game in just a few minutes. I want to show off a little bit more combat and also show off some of the all right,
Anteater
these giant
muscle creatures.
so anteater trolls. Yeah,
It looks like they're called trolls, so don't get trolled. Sorry.
You're not sorry.
They look tough though, but
I just noticed, like, not only is there the banner saying Shibuya 106 in the background, but there's also I'll go for this one. There's also like mannequins. There's like a screen of like mannequins up in the background.
Yeah, I know there's so much to notice in these battles that
it's just
you'll
insane
still be
visual
seeing new
detail,
things
yeah.
after you've played lots of them.
I like that we get confetti at the end too.
Yeah,
Confetti's always nice.
I need more confetti in my victories. This is an area that I'm not going to be able to get into just yet. There's we're only showing you a little bit of how the main dungeon flow operates, but there's a lot of areas that you can go back to and revisit later on. So it's not just like the core experience of the dungeon, but there's also some replay where you're gonna have to go back and revisit them and explore deeper into some areas that you didn't get to before. I can't get around to there yet either.
Right.
The other side, there's something around the corner that I can't quite reach.
So are we gonna jump to another location, or?
Yeah, I think it's a good time to jump to another location. Everybody close your eyes as I switch to a different chunk of save data.
Oh, you were kidding. Sorry.
It's subtle. I'm really subtle. We're gonna jump over to Harajuku now.
Okay. Oh, Harajuku. That's
Awesome.
another
There we go.
Tokyo location.
And just show off a little bit more of the real-world locations.
Right.
And while we're exploring, this would be a good chance for Mr. Takata to talk about some of the research that went into this, because you can see that there's a lot of love and attention to detail that went into recreating all of these locations.
今原宿を探索しますが、その間高田さんにそのなんか各場所を再現させるためにどのような研究をされてきたんですか？
そうですね。当然写真を撮影して街並みを再現するんですけれども、人がすごく多いんですよ。なのでなかなか資料の写真が撮れなくて、マップを担当している人たちは朝すごく早く起きて撮影をしたり、まだ電車が動いてない時間ですね、撮影したりしてすごく苦労してました。で、ちょっと細かい話でいくと、原宿のこの通りって実はもうちょっと道が狭いんですよ。でもそれじゃ遊びづらいんで少し広くしてたり、先ほどの渋谷とかは本当はもうちょっと広いんですけど、少し狭めに作ったりとかして遊びやすさにも配慮してます。
So to get the locations to look as realistic as they are, we relied on taking pictures of the actual locations so that we can make the levels later. But in order to do that, we had to wake up really early in the morning when the streets weren't as crowded and when there weren't trains running. So there are some other things that you might notice, like for example, people who have actually been to Harajuku might see the Harajuku here and be like, wait a second, the streets in the real Harajuku are much narrower. Or, you saw Shibuya before on the on Treehouse Live, but actually Shibuya is a lot more vast, but we tried to make it more compact so that people would be able to explore it easier, all to make the game feel a lot better for the player.
I really love, one of my favorite details about this is seeing all of the colored silhouettes of characters just living their day-to-day life. It's like it sets you apart, and it really makes you feel like you're off on your own adventure while the real world is still moving around you.
You can see there are characters that are more clearly defined that you can talk to and interact with.
You should maybe talk about the topic in the upper left.
Oh, right, yeah, we should talk about the topic. Up in the top left corner, you can see a bunch of messages that are waiting for me. I'm getting messages from my friends all the time, and they're coming in on the gamepad. So the gamepad is basically working as like my cell phone. If we could switch to the gamepad screen and I could find my way to the topic stuff, I do want to show off what some of this looks like, just for some of the home viewers. If we could switch to the, they'll catch up. Okay, there we are.
There we go.
So you can see I'm getting instant messages from my friends.
Right.
And they take the form of very contemporary,
like
very
a text
modern feeling
conversation.
instant messages.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend too much time here because I don't want to spoil any of the story. But the fact that you're getting these message updates regularly, we can switch back to the main screen again.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're getting these messages regularly is really great to me. It feels like I'm constantly getting updates from my friends. I'm constantly getting asked where I am.
Well,
I have a chance to contact them and make do some dialogue choices even within that instant message system.
The Shin Megami Tensei series, for people who are familiar with it, has always brought real-world elements, in a sort of a real-world setting to the RPG genre. And I love that there are things like the topic that are kind of updating that idea for more modern times, things that people will really recognize from their own daily life.
Now I'm going to switch to a boss battle. I just want to show off a boss battle while we still have some time here.
Take us in.
This boss battle is it's a good opportunity to show off some more of the gameplay system. But it's also a recognizable character from the Fire Emblem series. You'll see him in just a moment.
I'm excited.
recognizable if you played the Fire Emblem series.
Yes.
If you haven't played the Fire Emblem series, get ready for
there
a
he
minor
is.
spoiler.
There he is.
A good game.
So people may recognize him. He's actually Gangrel, and he was known as the Mad King Gangrel in Fire Emblem Awakening. But here you can see he's looking a little different. He's missing his eyes. His skin is kind of purple.
And he's a Mirage, just like everybody else is, who's taken possession of a photographer, a fashion photographer. So you see him now sort of having possessed this guy, and now we're fighting him basically to free the photographer from his control. Mr. Takata, would you like to talk a bit about some of the other combat elements that we're about to get into, the Mirage attacks and the duo attacks, because I'm about to get really tied up in this battle.
ミラージュタックと、ドゥオアーツについてちょっとご説明いただけますか。ミラージュアタックとドゥオアーツについて。
そうですね。
Poor Gangrel, we'll wake him up.
ミラージュアタックっていうのはクロムたちの力を解放して使う必殺技みたいなものなんですね。で本来先ほど連続で攻撃していた技があると思うんですけど、敵の弱点が使えない時とかにもそれで強制的についたり、で今ちょっと出た技とかは2人の協力技で、これは例えば翼とエレオノーラっていうさっき弓を使った女の子の2人をデビューさせることで使えるようになる技があったりします。
So the Mirage attacks are the attacks that you'll see where each character uses their own Mirage. So for example, Itsuki will borrow Chrom's energy, or Tsubasa will borrow Sita's energy, etc. And they're really helpful for like times where you need to hit enemy weak points. Also, I think you just saw duo arts go before, but duo arts are when characters will join up for an attack, kind of like a combo attack together for one. And I think that you'll see one with Eleonora and Tsubasa together. And sometimes you'll get these throughout the course of the story. Like, for example, when your relationship with the character, see if you press the... There you go.
I'll go for this one.
This is the duo. Yeah, this is the one that he's talking about.
This one's really fun.
You'll see Eleonora is the bow user who's on the right. And they'll unlock this throughout the course of the story as their connection with each other gets better. They'll learn new duo arts together.
And this is a nod to the Fire Emblem franchise as well, with the dual attacks that you would have in Fire Emblem, where two characters would pair up. So I like seeing the way that this stuff comes into play. The fact that you get these by pursuing characters' side stories, really, I like the way that that feels, because it touches on what I love about Fire Emblem as well, like the building of relationships, the discovering of characters' backstories, things like that.
That was
so
amazing.
let's see if I can... I'm trying not to kill him too quickly. The thing is, I have a serious advantage right now because I've been given some characters that I wouldn't normally have access to at this point in the game, just so I can showcase. We've just launched Chrom's Mirage, and he's just going to go to town on Gangrel.
I love Dark Chrom. He is so awesome.
I'm going to go for another dual attack here because I love the way this one plays out.
Oh, wow, this is awesome.
These two characters have a bit of a rivalry that you see play out in their dual attack here.
I do hope we get that heart attack again. I really hope that happens again.
Right on his head.
It's amazing.
Like we haven't seen the same move twice.
I really hope I don't kill him right now because...
It might be.
Oh, I think it did it. Wow. I think I killed him too fast. Oh, he just
no.
lost his
Does
head.
fly off, kind of.
He'll be fine, right?
Falls off.
Oh, I did that way too fast. I didn't even let him summon any enemies for the attack. But we were able to show off some of the Mirage attacks. We were able to show off some of the dual attacks. But I'm going to have to stop the feed because I don't want us to spoil the story that's going to be coming up basically now.
Yeah.
Because there's some big story moments that are about to hit us. Yeah. But I would like Mr. Takata to talk a little bit about how how they brought the Fire Emblem characters into this universe. What was the philosophy on how they were going to make them apply. Because, I mean, the way in which they appear in the story is so interesting, but it's also so different from Fire Emblem.
これはファイアーエンブレムのキャラクターが、このゲームでどのように解釈されているかについてコメントをいただけますか。
別の異世界から来た異邦人っていうことになってるんですね、ファイアーエンブレムのキャラクターたちは。で、敵になってその世界を滅ぼそうとする、者たちと、逆にクロムたちみたいに、主人公たちに力を貸してくれるパートナーになっているものがあって、唯一その主人公たちだけがその敵に対抗できる人たちなんですね。で、彼らはその力を合わせて世界を救っていくっていうお話になっています。
So in this game, actually, the Fire Emblem characters are from the other world, and what you said before, the idolasphere. And while they're in the idolasphere, they actually start out as hostile entities, and then through events in the story, they actually join your side, and they help you work. They work together with you to kind of save the world from the danger that's threatening it in this world.
It's such a cool idea.
So we've been talking about this, as I said before, as a Shin Megami Tensei Fire Emblem crossover, but I think it's really important that people see now that this is a very different game from either one of them. It has many Shin Megami Tensei elements to it, but it's going off on its own path. It's pursuing this music thing. Right. There are a ton of songs. There's a ton of choreographed dance scenes. I'm really excited to see more of the characters and get a better understanding of where the story is going, especially as we see what we saw a little bit of with Gangrel, as the characters start navigating this entertainment industry at the same time as they're trying to fight off the idolasphere's incursion with the mirages coming in.
Yeah. Well, I think we are just about out of time for this segment. I want to thank Kendra, Rich, Ryan, and especially Mr. Takada. Thank you so much for joining us today.